to another fantastic session here at the Awaken Your Potential Summit. I have an incredible guest with me here today. Jessica Ortner is the co-producer of the breakthrough documentary film on EFT, or meridian tapping, called The Tapping Solution. She studied digital journalism with the New York Film Academy in conjunction with NBC News and has been interviewing experts in the personal development field since 2007, having conducted over 600 interviews to date, which is incredible. And so for the past 8 years, Jessica has traveled the world. She's worked with NLP leaders, worked with leaders in the area of personal development, and she's also an NLP master practitioner, and she's certified in hypnosis. So she's here today to talk to us about tapping and all of the goodies that go along with that, including information from our Tapping Insiders Club and what's new in the tapping world. And so we're so excited to have you with us. Thanks for joining us, Jessica.
Thanks for having me, Kym.
So you dedicated so much of your life to EFT and meridian tapping. Can you explain what it is in your own words?
Absolutely. So EFT, or also known as tapping, is a technique where you use your fingers to tap on acupressure points for stress relief. And what we're finding is some really unbelievable results when it comes to tapping, not only just for stress relief, but also what happens when you do the tapping for stress relief, how your body responds. And so it's very effective if you're dealing with chronic pain. So what I did with my brother, because the results were so amazing, we knew that if we just documented it, that it would really spread. There was already a huge community. It had changed my life. My family was using it, and we just decided to make a documentary film about it. And now I do tapping audios and provide other resources that help people incorporate this really simple tool into their life.
And this is an ancient practice. I mean, if you talk about acupuncture and acupressure, it goes back for a long time. Can you explain a little bit about the history of it?
Absolutely. The principles do go back a very long time, but this actual technique, the form that it is in now, was created in the 1980s by a psychologist called Dr. Roger Callahan. Now, Dr. Callahan had his private practice, and he would work with individuals using talk therapy. And he found that he wasn't getting the best results, even though he was doing everything that he traditionally learned how to do. On the side, he was studying acupressure points and some of these, this ancient study. And so what he began to do as an experiment with his clients was to begin to combine the principles of what he had learned with modern psychology and combine it with what he was studying of ancient Chinese acupressure. So he had people that had different issues begin to tap on certain meridian points that were related to the problem. The results were absolutely amazing, and what he created was thought field therapy. That's what it was called. Now, at that time, he would only train other psychologists, and depending on what problem you had, you would tap on a certain algorithm. So it would be a certain amount of points depending on what problem you have. Now, the problem with this is it wasn't accessible to the everyday person. So one of the people he trained was a man called Gary Craig. And Gary thought, the results that we're getting are so unbelievable. We need to find a way to put this in a form where anyone can learn how to do it. You don't just need to be a psychologist. And to make it simple. So through trial and error and a lot of studies, he came up with the 9-point algorithm, now called EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique, also simply known as just tapping. And what's really unbelievable is that when you have a stress, now this is really the opposite of positive thinking. You want to dive into the negative feeling you're feeling. You bring that energy up in your body. You trigger that thought in your head, and you begin to stimulate these 9 different acupressure points by simply using your fingers to tap on these points. And you will find that the anxiety will begin to subside. And I know later I'll talk everyone through the process, because the thing about tapping is that I did not believe any of it when I first heard it, but I had an experience, and the experience is what convinces me. So I'm more about really taking the time to have an experience and to see how this works.
What was going on in your life when you discovered tapping?
Well, at that point in my life, I was I knew I wanted to have a type of career that helped people. I had a very hard time in school, and when I went into college, I began to read books that weren't part of the curriculum. And the more that I read outside of school, and the more that I began to talk to other successful people, I made the decision that I was going to drop out, and I was going to find a modern master. I was going to take the model of the master and the apprentice, and I was going to go out and study with some of the top people in personal health and fitness, just things that interested me. I wanted to really take my education into my own hands. Very great. At the time I was enthusiastic. It was amazing. After a few months, it was hard because I had to do a job that I hated in order to fund all these different courses that I wanted to take and all these trips that I was going on. So I felt this inner calling, but at the same time, we all have that voice that says, you're crazy, you should have stayed in school, don't rock the boat, do what everybody tells you to do. And throughout that whole phase in my life, I became very sick with the flu. And I was home, I was living with one of my brothers at the time, and my brother walks in to my bedroom, and I'm under the covers, and my head is stuffy. It was so bad. My sinuses were so bad that it was tiring to keep my eyes open. And my throat hurt, and my nose was stuffy. And he said, hey, Jess, I learned this technique online. That's how he learned it. He goes, he'd only done it with a few other people. He's like, why don't we just give it a try? I was like, okay. And so he had me begin to tap on these meridian points while I focused on how sick I felt. And at first, I thought he was playing a joke because he always is doing practical jokes, and I thought he was trying to make me look like an idiot because I was just, tapping on these different parts of my body. And but I kept doing it. And what is amazing about tapping is that it connects you into your inner emotions. It was a really just personal technique, and before I knew it, I had burst into tears. And as these tears are running down my face, my brother is thinking, oh no, it's not working. He's like, what's wrong? And I said to him, I don't want to get better. And I didn't consciously know this before, but when I tapped, I realized I didn't want to get better. And when he asked me, why don't you want to get better? I said, it's because I feel like I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do and nothing is going my way. I'm taking the chances. I'm going for my dream. I'm networking. I'm working long hours. I know that I'm meant to do something great, but I just can't figure it out, and I feel lost, and I'm tired, and I need a break. And so he said, okay, Jess, let's continue doing the tapping, but let's focus on those feelings. And so I began to tap and stimulate these points while I said, I'm trying so hard and nothing is going my way. I feel so stuck. When is it going to be my time? Did I make a massive mistake? I'm so angry at God because I feel like I was trusting my intuition and my faith, and I was let down. And so all these emotions were pouring out of me as I began to stimulate these points. And at that point, I had studied hypnosis, I had done NLP, and nothing shifted me. I had never felt a shift like I did after doing that round of tapping. It was in my core. And after a few tapping rounds, I took a deep breath in, and I took a nice calming exhale, and I felt amazing. And my brother looks at me, and he goes, do you notice that your sinuses are clear? And I took another deep breath and realized that my nose had completely cleared up, and all the fogginess that was in my head had cleared. And I had read before that there was a connection between our emotions and our physical body, but I don't think I actually really understood it until that moment. I think we read that our emotions impact our body, but I think we don't quite grasp how big that is, the impact that it really does have, and we overlook it very easily. So after that experience, I began to realize that a lot of the physical problems we have are emotionally based. And for me, this is a technique that was able to, create that bridge between my emotions and my physical health to really see a difference in these two different areas of my life.
That's amazing. That's just an incredible story. Not just, like you said, physiologically, things shifted, and emotionally, things shifted.
Yes, absolutely.
So we've seen how EFT can work for chronic. You talked about chronic pain earlier. It can work for a head cold. It can move you from being emotionally stuck. What else can it do?
It's amazing. It can really work with anything. And now this is when people become skeptical because they go, oh yeah, there's no such thing as a magic pill, and there's not. You actually have to do the work, And when I say the work, is you really have to take the time and be honest with yourself and really look at your emotions. And so it works with different type of physical pains like back pain and headaches, because you can ask yourself, who is the pain in my back? What does this headache represent? And our body and our mind works in metaphors. And I'm always astounded by the results I get when I work with someone with chronic pain and I ask them either what does the pain represent or what was going on in your life when it happened. And when people begin to tap on, well, the back pain started after my mother passed away, and they begin to tap on the grief, or the back pain started after I lost my job, or simply the back pain started once I got that phone call and someone broke up with me, or I got into a minor car crash that didn't even impact my back, but the fear triggered this response in my body. So it's really important to look at your physical pain and look at the emotional aspect. So that's why it can really work with all physical pain. When it came to the movie, we worked with people with migraines. We worked with a woman who had breast cancer who came because she had really bad insomnia, which is very common with cancer patients. They begin to get insomnia, and the interesting thing is the insomnia doesn't start when the cancer starts. The insomnia usually starts once they get the diagnosis. So someone can be living with cancer for a long time, not have insomnia, find out that they're living with cancer. The insomnia begins because it's triggered by all the anxiety. So we addressed that in the documentary. We also dealt with someone who was going through grief. Their wife, he was driving across a bridge, was in a car crash, and his wife was killed instantly next to him. Now, grief is a natural process, and obviously he needs to go through that, but he wasn't functional in society. He couldn't work. He couldn't function because the grief was so overwhelming. And it wasn't just the grief, but he had post-traumatic stress, where he would just play the accident in his head over and over and over again. It was completely consuming his thoughts. And so, those are some examples of some of the people that we follow in the documentary. And for us, it was really important to not have, actors or people just talking about how it worked. We got people who had no idea what tapping was before they were picked to be in the film. They applied because they were interested in it, but they had never had a tapping experience before they showed up to be filmed, and we showed their process, the process of healing. So really, physical and emotional. It could be intense things, and it could also be things like the nervousness that we feel when we know that we're about to speak in public, the sweatiness, our heart beating. So any type of little emotional or physical stress, you can try it. And what's great about it is that it's easy just to try. So I just encourage everyone who's listening to just give it a try. Pick something that is bothering